So the more we can help clients be willing to engage in an experience that yields an outcome that's not really what they thought was going to happen, the better. That means that if we do cognitive restructuring as a therapeutic strategy prior to going into exposure therapy, we are potentially undercutting the value of experience, because we want the experience itself to stand out as a surprise. So if let's say I have somebody who has panic disorder and they're thinking that they're going to go crazy if they experience, bodily sensations of unreality. If I spend a lot of time before they do exposure therapy helping them to realize, the chances of you actually going crazy are very slim, let's look at all the data and help you to form different ways of thinking so that you can go into this exposure therapy realizing you're probably not going to go crazy, the chances are very low, then theoretically that means the experience of exposure won't be so surprising for them and it won't give them that potent learning. And so that's what we now do, is we shift the cognitive restructuring phase really to after the exposure rather than before. That's a difference. That's a key therapeutic difference between a behavioral testing model and an inhibitory learning model.
So now, well, I heard you say theoretically when you were describing. So I was wondering if in actual practicality, sometimes a certain amount of cognitive restructuring is needed in order to help the person be willing to do the exposure. Because if I literally think that I am going to have a heart attack, then I'm probably not going to be willing to do the exposure.
That's right. And of course, it comes down to what is the person willing to do. So our methodology is, first of all, we establish, so what is it that you're most afraid of happening? How can we design the optimal exposure to test that out? And if the person's unwilling to go into the optimal exposure, which might be, I'm going to, travel by plane to another country on my own without any Xanax or any kind of medication, and I'm talking an extreme exposure.
I understand. Right. That would be the optimal learning experience for that person.
If that's what they needed to do in order to really violate their expectancy that they're going to die if they're on their own in an unfamiliar place, then we would say, what are you willing to test out? And so we might have to back down from the optimal exposure to something that they're willing, and constantly reinforcing that their expectancy of that bad event happening is clearly preventing them from learning something new. And so how can we design experiences to help them learn something new? And of course, by doing this, we as therapists are conveying a sense that this is safe, because we would never be asking our clients to do anything that's dangerous. So clients are clearly going to be absorbing that notion that this is okay to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's probably some, unavoidably, there's some level of thought reappraisal happening. It's just that we don't spend time doing formal cognitive restructuring.
And you do the minimum amount of that needed to get the person to have the experiential learning. So the goal is experiential learning.